When narcissism eclipses humility, even a chosen king can lose everything. And then there's Absalom, the son of King David. Handsome, charming, manipulative. He knew how to win the hearts of Israel, one kiss and promise at a time. But beneath his smile lay a web of deceit. His heart burned with resentment towards his father. He wanted David's throne, his kingdom, his glory. Absalom planned a rebellion, slandering David to the people, whispering lies about his intentions. He told them the king isn't ruling fairly. He doesn't care about our needs or our safety. Absalom pretended concern, feigning devotion. If only I were king, he said, I would protect you all. Absalom wasn't interested in justice, only in power. He wanted the adulation, the oil, the robes, the crown. His heart grew like a cancer within the kingdom, destroying everything in its path. Absalom gathered an army. He seduced his father's counselors, turning them against David. Rebellion became civil war, brother against brother. As David fled Jerusalem, he looked back, tears in his eyes. Absalom raised a monument to vanity on the Hill of Olives, watching as his father's men fell around him. His beauty and charm proved irresistible to many, including David's own daughter Tamar, whom he defiled. But narcissism leaves us empty. Even as King Absalom found no joy. The kingdom suffered under his selfish rule. Famine and disease spread through the land. People cried out for mercy. They missed David's leadership, his strength, his compassion. Even the mighty can fall when they let vanity eclipse wisdom. In the end, Absalom's treachery caught up with him. His own hair caught fire from a nearby battle, and he died as he was trapped in the branches of a tree. David mourned his son, but God reminded him that sometimes he also has to judge those who are closest to us. We may think we know these stories well, but as we look deeper, we uncover the haunting truth of narcissism. These characters aren't just figures in a book. Their story echoes in the faces that haunt us. In the whispers of doubt, in the dark corners of our past. Maybe we've encountered someone like Jezebel, cruel and controlling, twisting love into a weapon, demanding worship instead of companionship. Maybe we've known a Saul, insecure and jealous, whose touch once warmed us, but turned cold as our light shone brighter. Or perhaps we've met an Absalom, captivating and charming, who promised us the world but left us with nothing but scars. When we look closer, we recognize that God feels our pain. He sees the wounds inflicted by narcissistic abuse, the scars hidden beneath a charming exterior, and he grieves with us. These stories remind us that narcissism isn't just a personality flaw, it's a spiritual problem. It distorts the image of God in each of us, turning love into power, empathy into manipulation, and compassion into control. If you've experienced the torment of narcissistic abuse, know this. Your pain is not a sign of weakness. Your scars are a testament to the strength it took to survive. God sees your struggle. He feels your pain, and he has not forgotten. There's hope for healing, wholeness, and inner peace are not defined by the scars of the past. You're beautifully and intricately crafted by a loving God. Remember, you're not alone. Reach out to support groups. Talk to a counselor. Lean on friends who truly care. And above all, draw closer to God. He is your refuge, your strength, your healer. You can break free from the grip of fear and shame. Believe in the God who sees you, who knows your story, and who loves you more than you can imagine. As we close today's message, take a moment to reflect on the stories shared. How do they resonate with your experiences? What insights have you gained into the nature of narcissism and its impact? Let your comments be a source of comfort and strength for others who may be going through similar struggles. And don't forget to subscribe to stay connected for more insightful messages like this. May the peace of God be with you. And now, having considered King David's mistakes, let's look at his son Absalom, a character whose story illustrates another dangerous personality type, the narcissist. Imagine you are a child. Your father is the most powerful man in the kingdom, but despite his status, he has serious flaws. And you see firsthand how his bad decisions affect the people around him. You even witness his violent outbursts or his manipulative tactics. Growing up in that environment, what kind of person do you think you might become? Would you strive to be like your father, or would you choose a different path? In Absalom's case, he chose the latter. Let's examine how narcissism operates through his story. Now, you've probably heard the term narcissist, but let me explain what we mean by it. A narcissist is someone who is excessively preoccupied with themselves. They crave admiration and have a sense of entitlement. They exploit others to get what they want and lack empathy for those around them. But the shocking thing about narcissism is that it's quite common. Narcissists come in all shapes and sizes. It's important to remember that narcissism isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's hidden under charming exteriors. Now back to our story. When Absalom was a child, David showed favoritism to his son Amnon, which made Absalom resentful. Feeling neglected, Absalom plotted with his grandmother, David's wife, Maacah, to get revenge. When Absalom grew older, he left Israel and stayed in Geshur for 3 years, hinting that he couldn't return due to a supposed blood feud. Which means he created a cover story for his real intentions. He built a reputation for charm and good looks, and when he returned to Jerusalem, the entire city seemed to love him. Why were the people so drawn to Absalom? To answer that, let's break down the psychology of a narcissist. Narcissists often use their appearance and charisma to manipulate others. They know how to present themselves well and use this as a tool to gain attention and admiration. They thrive on being the center of attention and will often go to great lengths to make sure they are. You may think, but why would anyone fall for it? The truth is, people can miss the red flags because they refocused on the narcissist's apparent charm and attractiveness. It's like being drawn to a beautifully wrapped gift, only to find something worthless inside. Back then, as people flocked to Absalom, David didn't notice the shift happening right under his nose. Absalom had skillfully hidden his true intentions. Now the question is, why don't people see these red flags? Oftentimes we tend to focus on the outward behavior rather than understanding the underlying motivations. We may mistake a narcissist's charm for kindness or their confidence for strength. But beneath that facade lies a calculated strategy to gain power and control. It's like missing the predator because you're too busy admiring the colorful feathers. Absalom understood this perfectly. He knew how to present himself as a young man seeking his father's approval. Yet behind closed doors, he harbored resentment and a thirst for power. Now let's ask another crucial question. How does narcissism affect relationships? Narcissistic people rarely form genuine connections with others. Their relationships are transactional, meaning they give only when they expect something in return. They use their charm to manipulate others and exploit them for personal gain. They also struggle with empathy, making it difficult for them to understand or care about the feelings of those around them. As Absalom gained more and more supporters, he began holding secret meetings in the city gates. There he would whisper sweet promises to the people, promising to do better than his father. He exploited their frustrations and turned their loyalty from David to himself. By focusing on the negative aspects of David's rule, Absalom presented himself as a better alternative, gave speeches filled with pity, pretending to care for the people while secretly planning to replace his father. He wanted to be king, not to serve his people, but to fulfill his own selfish desires. This brings us to the next point. One of the main goals of a narcissist is to obtain worship. They want to be admired and put on a pedestal. They need constant praise and validation to feel satisfied. Worship for them is not about reverence, but about having their ego inflated. The irony is that a narcissist never feels good enough. No matter how much praise they receive, it's never enough to silence that inner emptiness. Absalom had been planning for long years. Finally, it was time to put his plan into action. On the day of the rebellion, Absalom looked stunning as he rode a chariot into Jerusalem, while David sadly fled the city. Soldiers along the road cheered Absalom's name, believing they were supporting their rightful king. For a moment, it seemed like everything was going according to plan. But soon Absalom's hubris, meaning excessive pride and arrogance, would lead to his downfall. You see, as he fled Jerusalem, his long hair got caught in the branches of an oak tree near the road. There he was stuck, suspended between heaven and earth, unable to move forward or backward. Then a soldier came across him, and when he realized who it was, he struck Absalom's spear to the ground. With one last defiant yell, Absalom fell off the chariot and died right there in the middle of the road. His reign lasted only a few days, and his ambition ultimately strangled him. Let's pause here for a moment. Why did Absalom's plan fail? We can attribute it to several factors. First, his decision to hide his true intentions. All those who supported him remained ignorant of his plans to usurp the throne. Second, his failure to understand the complexity of ruling a nation. Absalom saw the flaws in his father's leadership, but he underestimated the challenges of governing a kingdom. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, his inability to acknowledge his limitations. Narcissistic people often think they're better than everyone else and believe they can do everything themselves. But this delusion leads them to take risks they're not equipped to handle. In conclusion, Absalom's story highlights the dangers of narcissism and reminds us to look beyond a person's charming exterior. His tragic end shows that such behavior doesn't lead to genuine fulfillment or lasting success. Instead, it results in isolation, destruction, and ultimately self-destruction. Furthermore, Absalom's story teaches us about the importance of humility and self-awareness. No matter how talented or attractive we are, we must remain aware of our own limitations and avoid the trap of excessive pride. So if you're a Christian watching this, here's a question for you. Do you recognize any of these traits in yourself or others you know? Remember, narcissism can manifest in various ways. It's not always obvious or easy to spot, so please be honest with yourself. Additionally, if you've ever suffered under a narcissist, I want you to know that you're not alone. God sees what you've endured. Now, here's some good news. God doesn't just confront narcissism, He allows it to collapse under its own weight. Why? Because the truth is that sometimes people need to experience the consequences of their actions before they realize their mistakes. God gives us time to repent and turn from pride and cruelty, but when hard hearts remain unchanged, judgment comes. My friend, if you've been hurt by someone who always needed to be first, subscribe to this channel and drop a comment below. Share your story. It might help someone else who's going through the same thing. Also, if you've ever struggled with narcissistic tendencies, know that it's never too late to change. Humility is the cure for a spirit poisoned by pride, and God's grace is big enough to cover every mistake you've made. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the Bible. If you like this animation, hit that thumbs up button and share it with a friend. I'd love to have you back for the next one. Till then, may God bless you and keep you. Shalom.